We all have different modes of being. I mean, the obvious things are if we're focused on a task, or we've just seen something amusing, and that can go from, a smile up to, hilarious laughter. And then there's seriousness or sadness. Those are the normal, if you like, most familiar ways of being, okay? But it occurred to me, I have different ways of being that maybe are more subtle. And there's one way of being if I'm socially engaged, which is much faster and can shift topics and spot patterns very quickly and very easily. There's a mode of being that I have if I'm writing, which is much deeper and more articulate in a way. The words, I suppose, flow because I'm using language on a page, and so it's not just structured. I suppose we learn that way, and also as I write, I probably go deeper and discover more. But then there's also a way of being that I'm aware that when I'm on camera often, not necessarily in this moment because I'm probably talking about something more practical, but I shift to a mode of being that, if you like, it's like standing on the edge between our language-based world and that world, the divine, if you like, the infinite, that is beyond human comprehension. We cannot enter the whatever you call it, unity consciousness. God, I have a slight problem with the word God, because actually I think we limit the possibilities with our concept of God, whereas I suppose I prefer something like unity consciousness or oneness, because within those I know I don't have a concept. I just don't. But anyway, getting back to modes of being, so that when I'm on camera often and I'm exploring more deeply, I am aware that I'm on this edge. And when I'm on this edge, it's more about not just waiting for an insight. It can be sensing an insight, feeling something, receiving an image, a metaphor, and that requires at least a moment's pause. So I understand that for some people, my videos, especially if I didn't edit some of them, could seem, well, where's she going? Well, sometimes she doesn't know where she's going. Sometimes I'm tuning in at a deeper level and I'm going with the flow. And that's really okay for me. And I appreciate that, maybe for some that's uncomfortable or even unknown. But there is so much value on the willingness to stand on that edge. I suppose in many ways I've known that edge all of my life, even since childhood. Even in the middle of the night when everyone's asleep, there was something very comfortable and nurturing in that quiet silence. And when I'm working with a client or listening to a friend, I tend to be more on that edge. I mean, not when I'm joking or what have you, but if they're talking to me about something that's important to them, then I do go that quiet and, if you like, sit comfortably on that edge. It's so valuable if, I suppose, more of humanity maybe knew about that edge. And on that edge, the mind quietens. And when our mind is more still, then our heart can come on stream. And I may have said it in a previous video, and I'm not going to apologize for repeating it, because what if the way humanity has got lost is such a primary focus on language, which is wonderful in so many ways, and people are able to share their thoughts and ideas and communicate through language. And where would we be without books? But it's only when we're quiet that our heart comes on stream. Now, if you think about it, whether it's how countries are run and large, especially global organizations, but organizations of any size, what tends to happen is everyone gets involved in the structure, understandably, the workings, how products or services are produced, how to serve clients, and all the rest of it. But there are so many practicalities, but all of these practicalities are going on up here. Whereas when we are quieter and the heart comes on stream, when the heart and mind are working as one, and maybe the left brain thinking mind to some extent willingly takes more of a back seat, then that's when wisdom, insights, intuition, care, love, all those beautiful qualities, wisdom, harmony, peace, yes, and even joy, flourish and come on stream. And it was just that I was editing another video, and I realized as I was watching my playback, goodness, I do leave gaps, but when I'm in this deeper mode, which I'm not quite in this moment because I'm sharing something quite practical, but when I'm in that deeper mode, yes, there are longer pauses as I it's like I wait for the words, and in that waiting they're not coming from my conscious thinking mind, but somehow I'm allowing a more universal oneness to communicate with me in the best way it knows how. Now, this can also happen to you. What we have to bear in mind is the oneness, this wonderful unity consciousness from which we are all born and return to. It is able to speak to each of us in our own language. That's the language that we were brought up using, and speak to us in our dreams, and when we're quiet, enable us to notice things that are important in our environment, and just speak to us in many subtle ways. And in a way, this is, I suppose, the language of poets. The Sufis truly understand this language. Different religious faiths, and I do say faiths in terms of religious structures, although it's not I don't want to limit that, but it's not always the structure that allows an insight. It is the silence outside of the structure where the true wisdom comes through. Now, is there anything else to be said here? No? Maybe not. But I was just struck with my different modes of being. So if we ever speak, if it's a worldly topic, then I'll be engaged and curious, and I'm very creative and ideas orientated. But if it's something deeper that you need to explore, work on, a change that you're looking for, then you'll notice that I go very quiet, and I suppose people appreciate it as calm. But I think it's useful for us to begin to notice and explore these different ways of being that we all have.